It's live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Creativity Cafe for an Intellectual Adda. I'm your host, Dr. S M A Moin, a reader in storytelling and brand communications at Queen Mary University of London. In a world obsessed with individual brilliance, credential, and technical expertise, we often forget one simple truth: no one succeeds alone. Even the iconic figures that we celebrate as solitary genius, people like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, were not truly alone in their journeys. Jobs needed teams that could translate his vision into design and technology. Gates built Microsoft by surrounding himself with people who challenged him, complimented him, and extended his thinking. Their success was not only a product of intelligence, but of relationships, trust, and the ability to work with others. So, behind every successful leader, behind every thriving organization, and behind every meaningful collaboration lies an invisible wave, a human network built not on power or position, but on connection, trust, and social intelligence. Tonight, in episode 6 of Emotional Intelligence Masterclass, we turn our attention to the social side of emotional intelligence, the skill that quietly shape our careers, relationships, and collective success. I'm delighted to be joined by someone who understands this deeply, not just in theory, but in practice. Is none other than Professor S M Arifuzzaman, one of Asia's leading voice on emotional intelligence, leadership development, and human-centered learning. Professor Arifuzzaman, welcome back to Creativity Cafe once again.
Yeah,
It's
thanks a lot, Dr. Moin. Yeah, thanks a lot for for the session again, and I'm really excited. And I must tell our audience that actually we are going through some series of lectures. So in the first episode, we talk about the evolution of emotional intelligence. In the second episode, we talk about what is emotional intelligence and what are some of the misconceptions about it. And then we started talking about all the four pillars of emotional intelligence. So in the episode 1, we talk about the self awareness, the first pillar. In the fourth session or episode, we talk about self management, which is actually the second pillar. And in the last session, last episode, we talked about the empathy, which is the third pillar. So today, uh, you have already mentioned that we are going to talk about the social skills, social intelligence, which is actually the last pillar of emotional intelligence.
that's very helpful, Professor Arifuzzaman, because we had a kind of a break of 15 days during the end of the last year and beginning of this year. So it will be valuable for someone who has come back again hearing us. So let's start with basics of social skills. When we talk about social skills within emotional intelligence, what we really mean beyond a small talk or surface level charm. I mean, can we define what is social skill?
Yeah, so social skill is actually the ability to navigate the human interactions with two things. One is awareness, and another one is the intention. So it's not about being extroverted or talkative. It's about knowing when to speak, how to respond, and what emotional impact your behavior creates. In simple words, emotional intelligence, uh, like we sometimes say that social skill is actually the emotional intelligence in action. So very quickly to identify whether someone is emotionally intelligent or unintelligent is actually the social skills. So if someone behave properly, appropriately in the social context, then we can understand that yes, maybe he or she is actually very good in the other pillars of emotional intelligence.
So it's something that who knows how to be socially relevant by responding in the right way and then connecting with the members of the society as
Yeah.
they live day to day. That's fantastic. Okay, and you just mentioned the key things are the intention as well as awareness. So we are aware of things happening, and then we want to manifest, or we want to make sure that things happen the way we intend to be happened. Okay, so that brings me to the next question, probably for you. How do empathy and communication intertwine? Because I think empathy is very important. Again, can someone be a good communicator without being empathic, or is empathy the foundation?
Yeah, actually, I know that very interesting and important question because what I have observed in my career that people spend a huge amount of time for honing their capability in the field of communication skill, but unfortunately, due to lack of empathy, they cannot really become very successful. And the main reason is the empathy, because empathy tells you what the other person feels, and communication decides how you respond to that feeling. So without empathy, communication becomes really cold, and without communication, empathy stays trapped inside. So when both work together, people feel understood, not just informed. So in today's context, where everybody is very much, we are saying that they are very much emotional, right? They're expressing their emotional and they are caring so much about what they're feeling. So if you ignore the feeling of other people, your communication can no longer be effective.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, so that means they are complementary to each other. So obviously, if we don't have empathy, we don't understand our audience better. But again, if we don't have the ability to articulate our message, we will not be able to create the desired feeling that we want to create, because we need to understand them, but at the same time, we need to communicate us in the way they will feel better, or they will be connected. That's really powerful, Professor Arifuzzaman. Then let me come to my next question. So, what are some subtle but reliable signals of high social intelligence, especially in leader? I mean, how do
Yeah,
we
that's
recognize them?
yeah, that's a really wonderful question, because as we have, I told you in the very first place that whether a person is emotionally intelligent or not, that is actually can be reflected through how he or she interact in the social context. So that's why it is very important for us to understand the signals. So there are some very clear signals or signs, what you said. The first one is that they read the room before speaking. They can read the room before they speak. And the second one will be they adapt their tone to the situation. So you see that they can understand that when they should talk high, when they should lower down their pitch, and also the modulation, also how much they will be giving the pause and how quickly they will say it. So this all actually is actually the signals or signs of high emotional intelligence, social intelligence. And another very very important signals is that people open up around them. So most probably in some of the movies you will see that some people, when they become very emotionally vulnerable, they open up sometimes to wrong places or wrong people. So uh, maybe they have showed their social intelligence very highly to the other person. So that is another sign that whether people are opening up to you or not. And the fourth one is another very important sign that this type of people, they can handle the disagreement without hostility. They're champion of doing that. And another very important sign is that they leave others feeling respected. So high social intelligence often shows up quietly but powerfully.
Fantastic. You just mentioned some of the very, very good points. To be honest, I can relate all those things, because when I think about situation I've come across in my life, and I can see that those who are really good leaders, and those who are really connect with the people uh, in a like very fast, they do really sort of demonstrate this kind of the points that you have mentioned. So I can see that you mentioned that they can read the room and adopt their tone. So again, we are coming back to that empathy and communication. So their ability to
mm,
read the room, which is empathy and awareness, but again, they can adapt the tone, which is part of their communication training. So that's, yeah. So I'm just trying to discuss this thing for our audience, that you see, if you practice our self-awareness, then you learn this skill in anyway. And then you say that people open up to them. So that means they demonstrate
trust you.
themselves very welcoming and trustworthy, and they try to speak the language of their audience. So I was reading a article the other day, an article, and there was something. The article was about trust, and they said that, well, somebody said that I had a flat tire, and that time I started distrusting him because I was not aware of what does flat tire mean. But you understand, if they said that if the tire is punctured, then because so that's why I think it's like they speak their language, they know how to modulate with their audience, and that's another thing. And you just said another point, very very strong, that is disagreement with not without hostility.
Hostility.
That means again they respect others feeling, so they just see that disagreement is an opportunity to see the problem from different angle. So it's an
Mm,
opportunity to see, but not something that, well, my point is being denied. Rather, I have another door open in front of me and I can see, well, there's another angle. And let's see in that
mm,
way. So it's like all about how open we are. That's fantastic, actually. So I think these are very valuable for the leaders, to be honest with you, as well. So I will ask you the next question. How does, I think this might be more on sort of coming under communication. So it's about emotional tone. So how does emotional tone influence persuasion? Somewhat, sometimes it is not what we say, but how we say it. Why
mm.
does that matter so much?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very wonderful part question, because it's and you have rightly said that it is part of the communication. And uh, we always talk about the verbal and non-verbal, verbal communication, non-verbal cue. And in terms of communicating the emotional message, there was a, I think, a massive research was done, and from this research it has been conveyed that in terms of communicating the message which has the emotional component, uh, only 7% is conveyed by what is said, and 93% is conveyed by how it is said. So now you can see people are persuaded less by logic and more by how the logic is delivered. So a calm respectful tone lowers the resistance. An aggressive or dismissive tone triggers the defense. So emotion decides whether the message enters the mind or gets rejected at the door. So that is why this tone actually plays a really vital role.
Okay, so I often see that you talk about hijacking of the amygdala or something like that. Can you bring that concept a little bit here?
Oh
To
yes, that's true. Yeah, yeah, wonderful thing that you have also again, like you are thinking me or wanting me
no,
to
no,
introduce.
just
Correctly. Yeah,
actually from you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very nice. Very nice. No, thank you. So, mostly, in a nutshell, we can say that people operate either by survival mode or actually growth mode, or by prefrontal cortex, which is actually the rational or the growth part of the brain, and another part of the brain is the survival part. So interesting thing is that that's a kind of flip flop. People under pressure and who are not so highly emotionally intelligent, they actually have a tendency to always go to the survival mode. So the problem is that uh, when people go into the survival mode, their tones actually become very inappropriate. As a result of this, they cannot influence the people. So maybe what they're saying is right, 100% right, but due to their operating from their survival mode, their tone doesn't actually support the way they're saying. So that's why it actually mismatches and the persuasion goes wrong.
Okay, and okay, that's why emotional tone is very powerful, because and also because it's like people sort of I mean, even if you put it in a sales context, people make a decision emotionally and then they justify by logic. So if the leaders or the someone who is using their emotional tone, in other words, they are using emotion anyway. So
Yeah,
they are
so
the
other party, they cannot actually, that the other side, they will not ignore the feelings. So they can always read that, okay, this person is actually operating from the survival mode.
okay,
So
yeah,
they'll get the gut feeling, and from their point of view, they will not agree to you actually.
okay. Okay, that's fantastic. So let's come to ethics, power, and responsibility. I think social skills can be powerful. How do you ensure that they are used ethically, though, to connect and uplift, not to manipulate?
Yeah, so the difference is actually in the intention. So so manipulation serves the self, ethical social skills serves the mutual benefit. So if your goal is understanding, trust, and long-term relationships, you are using the AI ethically. But if your goal is control or exploitation, you are not practicing AI, you are misusing it. So that is why, especially in the context of developing countries like Bangladesh, it is becoming very difficult to actually establish the practice of emotional intelligence, because now what has happened that the people who are becoming expert in the field of emotional intelligence, they are actually using it for their own benefit, ignoring the benefit of others. So that is actually 100% manipulation. So one thing we can always say now is that, like, to be a great manipulator, the bottom line is that you have to be good at emotional intelligence. Now after that, you will decide how we're going to use it. So it's just like enroll a scandal thing after that. Like all the business school are giving emphasis on making ethically, ethically good business graduate. So the same thing is happening, that the emotional intelligent people, they become champion of understanding the other's feeling, and they become good at persuading others. So now comes the point, how they are going to use it. Are they going to use it for the mutual benefit or the purpose serving the self?
So, can you just tell the four components of emotional intelligence once again? Because I just want to make a point here.
Yeah, self awareness. So self awareness is your understanding what is going on in your side, in deeper your side. So what is happening there is self awareness, how you are feeling about something. And then the self management, that after understanding the self awareness, you know that how to manage your emotion, to make it effective actually. And the third one is empathy, understanding others feelings. And uh, and fourth one, that is we're talking about today, is the social skill, so which includes the influencing, persuasion, good negotiation, all this stuff. So sometimes we say that, as I have told in the first, in the first time of this session, that it is emotional intelligence in action is actually the social skill. So we need all the three, uh, to that apply the emotional intelligence in action.
So, I'm coming back to actually, I mean, you just mentioned it, and it's very good for our audience. So, I'm coming back again to this ethics, power, and responsibility. So, you told that actually, if someone really has got a strong emotional intelligence, they can be a good manipulator. So,
Yep.
but they can be a good leader as well. So
Yes.
now what we need, now what we understand, because thing is that emotional intelligence plus, but if we multiply emotional intelligence with really character, values, and authenticity, then we can ensure that this is actually going towards the right direction. So we need
Yeah. Yeah.
we need authenticity or character or values as a multiplier, so that we not only have the emotional intelligence as a power, but we use this power in the right direction. Okay, so
Yeah, so
that's
now you can, Dr. Moin, you can easily connect with the, yeah, some of the nationalist leaders activities. Actually, they are highly emotionally intelligent people, but they actually drive people sometimes,
in
for
the
their own benefit, or
wrong
for the,
direction.
yeah, wrong direction also. So that is why we have to be also very emotionally intelligent to understand the leader's intention also. So,
Yeah,
and that also takes us to the concept of the critical thinking skill. So not everybody can be manipulated by the leader.
yeah, but
You have to have the good critical skill, thinking
yeah,
skill.
but to be a good leader, so we need also, like as I said, that character, values, and ethics, and authenticity. on top of emotional intelligence as well. Okay, that's great. Uh, so the coming to the next one, which is the connection in a digital world. So many teams today are remote or hybrid, that we are connected, living in the sort of global village, digitally connected. How can leaders maintain emotional connection and trust when people are not physically present?
Yeah, that's a very wonderful question, because I think that still a good number of companies and in the areas they need to have that communication in the digital platform, and the global team has become very normal phenomenon now. So how we can do that? It's like the main principle is by humanizing the communication. And how we can do that? So check in emotionally, not just task wise. So always we can try to see that how others are feeling. So we can employ the concept of the mood meter, like that was introduced by Mark Brackett. He talked about that how to identify recognizing the emotion based on two parameters. One is the whether you are feeling pleasant or unpleasant, and how is your energy level. So sometimes we say that we can be in a high arousal state or low arousal state. So whenever we are watching other people interacting, for example, we too can see each other's energy and the mind also, whether we are pleasant or unpleasant, or how is our energy level. We can easily check that. So that is the first thing we need to do. And second one is that uh, try to encourage to use the video on, actually encourage the cameras
That's very important, actually.
occasionally,
Yeah.
not always. Not always. So I think that after 5 minutes, 10 minutes down the line, we can do that. And another very important is that we have to acknowledge the effort publicly. So whenever anybody is contributing, or maybe in some sort of meeting as a leader, when we are analyzing the data or the result or the performance by the teams, we must acknowledge the effort publicly. And the another one is that uh, create a space for informal conversation. So always we can do so. So as a leader, if we can empathize, then we can bring all the people into a very informal conversation space, and then actually we can have this emotional connection. So connection doesn't disappear online. It just needs intentional care. So again, I will be connecting this with the self-awareness part. So if the leader feel that, oh, we are connecting from distant places, then actually it will not be highly connected uh, to the team. But it's all depends on the leader, how he is how he is actually bringing the care into this digital space.
And also using the name and thing, understanding. So yeah, so that's sort of on how you speak on it as well. Sometimes because when we are speaking, so you need to stop for the conversation to come to you, or what you say, it has to flow, allow some time for someone to understand, because when somebody listening using microphone, or headphone, they may not understand things the way they will understand, sitting in front of you. Okay, so let's come to the next question. I think this is very close to my heart, and as well as it's your heart as well. So you also often speak about storytelling and humor. I do that as well. How do this fit into social intelligence, and why are they so effective in building bonds?
Yeah, it's a stories. We say that stories create emotional bridges, and humor reduces the hierarchy and tension. So it's work in both directions. So a well-timed story makes ideas memorable. A gentle humor makes people feel safe. So social intelligent people don't entertain, they connect. So that's why these two are very important part of social intelligence. So a leader must have both of this.
Sorry, can you tell again that humor reduces hierarchy and what?
Yeah, so stories create emotional bridges,
Yeah,
and humor reduces the hierarchy and tension.
tension. Okay, yeah.
So highly tensed people, yeah. So team, so it reduces the hierarchy and the tension.
Oh,
So
that's really very powerful because okay, yeah. Do you want to add something more?
no,
Because
no, no. Yeah, I talked about this. So I think that these are the very two importance, but these are something that cannot be taught to anybody. It has to be developed by himself or herself. So that you have to watch a lot of fictional movies and different types of characters. So it has a strong connection with the empathy building as well, because you really have to connect to this kind of stories, movies, and you are actually a fan of that also. You used to nicely connect with the different type of movies, different types of genres with the storytelling. So today's leader, they have to have this kind of expertise.
yeah, that's very interesting. Maybe I will add something to this. I mean, it's like as storytelling is my passion, so storytelling is, I mean, so effective. I mean, when you want to connect with people, because story, first of all, stories are the reflection of life, and we all have a stories, and our stories are our little universe. So when we share our stories, the authentic stories, we give somebody permission to enter into our world. So like you see your house or your home is your little world. And when you invite some guest into your house, then they know that they are invited and they can open themselves. But a stranger who is not invited, they will not. So telling your stories is you are actually exposing something that was private, but you're happy to do that. You make
Wow,
yourself
that's
you make yourself vulnerable, and yeah, in some way you make yourself vulnerable, and that shows that you have actually trusted the other person.
yes.
Otherwise you will not be telling the story, so your own signature story. Like, say, you don't say that, okay, that I stood first in the class, but before
Mm,
that I failed in one subject, and then I had to. So somebody will not be very the secure to say that they failed. They would be very happy to say that they were fast. But this, the insecurities, when you tell your own stories, you are inviting them into your world, and you are exposing your weakness sometime. That means you are trusting them. And when you
mm.
trust them, and trust follow two ways, they tend to trust you. So that is what is the power of these stories. But yeah, humor is also part of a stories, like comedy. So humor is very powerful sometimes, that when you do the humor in the right way, as you said, that it normalizes the situation. It takes the pressure away. You told very, very nicely that it reduces hierarchy and tension. So when the leaders and the followers, or something like manager and the people, they are being led by the manager, when you are doing fun, that all on a sudden you think that you are in the same parallel level. So we should not actually, sometimes many leaders, they think that, okay, if we tell a story or if we do humor, probably people will not be afraid of us. But people don't have to be afraid of you. They need to like you, they need to trust you, and that's what matter. So that's really, really powerful. I think I'm going to ask you the last question, because we are sort of 30 minutes. So if you had to name one simple behavior, just one, that instantly improves team chemistry,
Yeah,
what would
so
it be?
yeah. So the answer lies, if you can just observe all of the great leaders of different sectors. Uh, they are champion of doing one thing very effortlessly. That is genuine appreciation. So not flattery, just a specific recognition. So for example, I say, I notice how you handle that pressure calmly, or oh my God, you were too good of doing this thing. So when people feel valued, cooperation rises naturally. So teams don't bond over task, they bond over being seen. So this is actually that highly very important, uh, I should say that the behavior, but that is actually very much ignored, unfortunately. Not so many people can do that, but all the great leaders, you will see that how they actually do the genuine appreciation for the team members.
That's really powerful, Professor Arifuzzaman. It's not only just appreciation. If it is even the genuine, if
Genuine.
it is a feedback genuine and that is constructive, even people like it. I can remember one thing actually that I in my previous university when I was teaching, and we like say we had a sort of meeting where we calibrate the marking, and I marked some students and I wrote comments, and we were asked to actually write a certain amount of comment about on the assignment, sort of 200 words or something. And probably most of the time maybe I have written say 180 or 160, but the program director who was leading the meeting, she was from Greece, and she was very happy with the way I write the comment. And then I said that, well, why didn't you have any issue with my writing? Because many places I didn't actually fulfill like 200 words. And then she said that when I read your comment, I see that every comment is different, and you just highlighted exactly what is needed and what is there in the paper. So that is very important. It's not that you just say, okay, there is need for improvement. You just said, okay, this is the area you have to do this to improve. Okay, this is good. So when your appreciation or when your feedback is genuine and exact, then people can work on that because you are showing them the right KPI and exactly what they need to do. So we
Mm,
got to be very, very precise as a leader. So that means we need to pay a lot of attention. So that's very important, and sincerity comes there. Professor
yes.
Arifuzzaman, it was fantastic having this conversation, although we had only sort of 30 minutes, but we covered a lot. And so, and thank you very much for your generous, like say, points and thoughtful kind of ideas that you brought today. So, what stands out to me today is that social skills are not about being impressive, it's about being attentive, genuine, as you were saying. They are not about control, they are about connections. In an age shaped by speed, AI, and constant output, the ability to listen, read emotional cues, tell stories, as you said, or do humors in the right way and build trust may well be the most important leadership skill of all. To our audience, if tonight's conversation resonated with you, remember you don't build a human network by connecting contacts, you build it by showing up as a human, being trustworthy. So thank you for joining us at this Creativity Cafe. If you found this adda meaningful, do subscribe, share, and continue the conversation with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and lead with heart. Thank you very much, Professor Arifuzzaman.
Thank you, Dr. Moin.
Right.